Hello and welcome to the channel that covers everything where health and technology meet. And today we're doing part 2 of the Bowflex VeloCore review. And if you haven't watched part 1, I do recommend you do that. But in this video, we're going to be talking about my support experience after a couple issues I had when I received the bike and how they handled that. We're going to talk about Peloton app integration as well as Zwift integration, and then wrap it up with my overall thoughts on this bike. So let's go ahead and get started. And I know talking about support isn't the most exciting thing in the world, so I'm going to try to keep this very quick. But it also is a very important factor that should be there when you're making a decision on what to buy. Because this is a very expensive bike and you want the company that you buy it from to be behind their product, to support their product. And when this arrived, it had a couple small issues. Nothing that stops me from riding it. I can still pretty much use everything, but you want to fix it. So my initial thought was when the bike came in and it had a couple issues, I was like, oh no, not again. Because I had another bike that had issues and it was... I'm trying to think of the word. It was an interesting experience. Poor. We'll go with that. It was a poor experience. But when it came to Bowflex, night and day, 100% different experience. I called the number, somebody answered, and that was the only person I spoke to. That one person was able to start troubleshooting the bike and identify what they thought the problem was. They were then able to ship the parts that they felt necessary to fix the problem. They were able to engage the technical support team and get that prepared so that way when the parts were delivered, they were already prepared to get someone out here. And they sent me an email with everything I would need to be able to have the information I need to keep this moving, checking on things, or do what I would need to do. They had one person support it end to end, and I can't describe how nice that was to experience. And on top of that, they sent a lot of parts. A lot of companies are gonna send the bare minimum, only the minimum thing they think might fix the problem, and I get it, it's a financial thing. But when it came to Bowflex, they basically sent everything but the tablet. They didn't mess around and they sent everything to fix the problem. Once the parts arrived, I was able to get the technician out here. It was very easy and very quick. They replaced everything. The problem the problem remained, and the technician thought that it was the tablet itself. So I was like, oh boy, how's this gonna go? I'm gonna have to call them again. It's gonna be a nightmare. It was not. I called them, they said, okay, thanks for the information. We'll ship you out a tablet, no big deal. You'll be able to swap that real easy yourself. Again, couldn't have been easier. Even though I still don't have my problem fixed, I feel so good with how they support this bike. I have all the confidence that's gonna get fixed. I'm not worried about it. The bike still works really good. I'm still able to use it. No big deal. I got one big thumbs up for Bowflex on how they supported their product. All right, but let's get to talking about the bike. But first, if you could, hit that like button. Thank you so much. So I got a lot of questions about Peloton app and Zwift app integration. So let's start with the Peloton app. Now, it was actually incredibly easy and worked very well, and it was kind of like a Bowflex C6 type experience with a little more. And what I mean by that is when you power on this bike and you go into the mode for Peloton, it tells you to get your own device. You have to get an iPad or an Android. iPad's probably gonna work better because I don't think Android's gonna support cadence display, which isn't gonna be a huge deal, and I'll explain why in just a second. But once you hook up the iPad to this and start a ride, you're able to go into the sync devices screen on the Peloton app and choose the cadence, and it will display the cadence from the bike right in the Peloton app. But on top of that, on the VeloCore screen, you have a just ride mode. So it puts all your typical stats. So you have cadence, resistance, and you're able to really pair well to a Peloton ride. You'll know you'll be able to be at what resistance and that 0 to 100 range, just like Peloton does. But you also have that cadence, and you can look on either screen. You'll have the Peloton content on your iPad, and then you can bounce between screens to get the information you want to get. So it makes it very easy to follow. On top of that, the sound is synced to the VeloCore, and because this does have external speakers that work better than tablet speakers, you're going to get a much better quality sound, and that's just really nice and adds to the experience. The one downside is that you do have to get your own device. If they had put the Peloton app right into VeloCore, that would be amazing. I don't know if they're allowed to do that legally, but that sure would be neat. But you have to get your own device, but from there, it works great, just like you'd expect with the Peloton digital experience. But my favorite thing, piggybacking off the part 1 review of this bike, is it just speaks to the multitude of ways that you can use this bike, and I love that. And next up was Zwift, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I downloaded the app just for this test because I got so many questions about it. I have never used it before. So bear with me, I'm gonna do my best here, but I didn't wanna leave anybody hanging. But as far as a new person just jumping in and trying to use it, it worked very well. But again, you gotta make sure your tablet and the VeloCore are connected. And then once you do that, you can load the Zwift app, and it's going to ask you what type of power reading you want to use within the Zwift app. And I believe it was called power output. I'll put it on the screen. And from there, it was able to take the output of the VeloCore, sync it to the Zwift, and use that as its measurement on how fast you're riding. So the combination of resistance and cadence is the power output, and that's the number that was displayed in Zwift. It worked very well. I connected right up. I went into a ride. I saw the numbers synced between the VeloCore and the Zwift app, and it synced in real time, worked very, very well. And I saw my little rider start taking off and going up the hills, and it worked great. So I'm new to Zwift. I don't have a lot more input on that, but it worked very well as far as just jumping in and use it from a newbie standpoint. Another thing I want to point out real quick is that when you use the VeloCore or their user interface, they call it Journey, J-R-N-Y. And this is $19.99 a month. Peloton Digital is $12.99 a month. So you can get everything the VeloCore offers, plus everything Peloton offers, for less than the subscription fee that you would get if you actually had a Peloton itself. The versatility again. And the last thing I want to cover is my overall thoughts on this bike. Now I am going to do some compares. I'm definitely going to compare it to the S22i because of the bikes that move incline, decline versus lean, as well as the Peloton Bike Plus because they're two of the bikes in my opinion that are near the top as far as in this price tier and what you get. But if you don't want to wait for those videos and you're strongly thinking about getting this bike, you've looked over the features of this bike and you think it's the bike for you. You've watched videos on this bike and you feel like this is the bike for you. You compared it to the features of other bikes, and again, you're feeling like this is the bike for you. I think you will be happy. Out of all the bikes I've tested and rode on this channel, I can say that this is one of my favorites. I love how this bike is designed and built. I love its integration capabilities. I love where I think this bike can go in the future and the things they can add to this and continue to build on it and make it even that much better over time. And while there are a lot of good bikes out there, and I think the most important thing you can do is find the one that has the features that most relate to you. If this is the one for you, and when you look over this, you like the features and you think this is the one that you'll have the most fun with and most likely to use, I think you'll make a good choice if this is the bike you decide to get. If you do decide to get this bike or you just want to look it over, I have a link in the description. But please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to stay on top of everything health and technology. Until next time, here's to a healthier you, and have a good one.